Welcome back to Andersen Acres. It's frigid outside, but that's okay. It is not really that big a deal because today I wanted to talk about bucks and whether you should own a buck, rent a buck, or send your girls to Sleepaway camp to make merry with the buck if you're interested in breeding your goats. So there are a few different options here. Not everybody wants to own a buck, and that's fine. But you kind of need to know what your options are so you can decide which path is best for you. As we are looking at getting back into breeding goats, dairy goats specifically, we are also having to make this decision. So let's just run through the choices and you can decide what works best for you and your farm. So the first option is, we're assuming you have your girl goats and you are ready to breed your does. Your first option is actually AI. Artificial insemination. This isn't super common with goats because goats are small, they are not super expensive animals, and it's not always easy to find somebody who first is offering the semen, either frozen or refrigerated, but who even is willing to inseminate goats because they are smaller. It's really common with horses and it's fairly common with cows, not as common with goats. It is still an option. The benefit here is you don't have to deal with a boy at all. And you can pick a top quality buck. You know who the dad is. You can pick him. You can have that semen shipped from further away. And that means you can just really pick anyone you like. Anyone who does collection. So not all people who have bucks will do collection. In fact, it's not common. But the really top quality bucks, they sometimes will do collection and they sometimes will freeze it and ship it to you. So it can be a viable option. The downside is it's expensive. Okay, it is the single most expensive way to go because you're going to have to pay for the semen, you're going to have to pay for the shipping, you're going to have to pay for somebody to inseminate your females. And even if you can do it yourself, there's only about a 60-65% take rate. So there is still pretty good chance that your females are not going to conceive at all. So it's an option. It's not one I'm going for. But it is an option, so think about it. Decide if it might be right for your situation. The second option is to own a buck. You can buy a buck, either a mature quality buck, or you can buy a baby and raise them up. Either way, you will have your own buck. This is the least risky because, one, you already have the buck. Okay, he's there. You've got him. He's on your property. Two, you know that he is clean, so you're not having your girls mingling with a boy that is potentially carrying a disease or a virus that your goats don't already have. So you know that there's compatibility there because he lives on your property. However, they stink. There is no nice way to say it. We have talked about bucks and rut before on the channel, and they smell. They are pretty renowned for peeing on their own faces because it excites the ladies. I don't know why the ladies think that's exciting. They have poor taste, but they're goats. So that smells. Okay, they stink. They absolutely stink. I cannot stress enough how much they stink. Before you go and buy a buck with the intention of breeding him to your ladies, go somewhere that has a buck and rut and just hang out for a little bit and see if you can stand the stench. Not everybody can. I have had a buck. They smell. So make sure you know whether or not you can even handle that, because that's a huge downside to having a buck permanently on your farm. You also have to think about housing. If you're not going to run him with your does all year round, so if he's not going to stay with your girls 100% of the time, you need to know where you're going to keep him. So is he going to have his own pen? Where is that pen going to be? Make doubly sure that pen is super secure because bucks and rut do tend to escape. So you absolutely need secure fencing. You need good housing. You might have to house them separate from your does depending on how you want to set up. Even if you run him with your does, you're still going to need really secure fencing. Bucks can be bucky. They are interesting. So, make that decision after you have smelled a buck. Decide whether or not you want one on your farm permanently. If you don't want a buck on your farm permanently, there is another option that still involves keeping your girls at home to breed. You can rent a buck. There are probably farms in your area, maybe you even know someone, who will basically let you borrow their buck. You generally have to pay for this, but the buck comes and visits you. There is a cost associated, and you have to be responsible for that buck while he's on your property. So generally the person who is renting the buck to you will come to your property, he'll look at your situation, your housing, your fencing, and he'll decide whether that's right for his buck. And that's completely fine if they say no, because not everybody is the same, and maybe he's simply not comfortable with his boy going to your property. So you will kind of have to jump through some hoops and make sure the person you're renting the buck from is comfortable with you bringing the buck to your property. So again, there is a cost associated, and you want to make sure that that buck is from a clean herd, because again, now you're running a risk of mingling your girls with a boy from a different farm. You want to ask for proof that that buck is clean. You do not want the buck to go home and all of a sudden your girls start getting sick. They have a virus now or a bacteria that you didn't know about. So make sure you ask the question. Okay? Double check before you bring that buck onto your property and before you pay any money for him at all. So again, you're probably going to have to keep him through one heat cycle, which can be about a month, just under a month. So be prepared to house this buck for a month to make sure your girls are caught. Another option, if you want to breed your doe, but you do not want to do AI and you don't want a buck on your property, can't say I blame you there, but one of the things that you can do is find somebody who basically allows your doe to come to the buck. So you bring your doe to the other person's farm. Okay? I call this sleepaway camp for does. And it does have the highest risk because now your goat's not in your possession. You have to trust that the other party is going to look after your goat. So make sure you ask questions. Make sure the herd is clean. Make sure the buck is clean. Go look at the facility before you send your ladies there. You want to make sure it is clean and well cared for. Look at the other goats on the property. Do they look good? Do they feel good? If they will not let you come to the property to view the property before you send your girls there, don't do it. Okay? Because there is a risk associated. You have to trust the person that they are going to look after your girls. You also have to bear in mind that this is going to be a more expensive option because you have to still pay the buck fee, the stud fee, and you're going to have to pay for your goats to be boarded there. Nobody's doing this for free. So you are going to have to pay, sometimes a premium, for your ladies to go hang out there. Is it worth it? It might be to you. So this is the option I am considering because I'm not sure I want a buck. If I do want a buck on the property, I'm just going to get my own buck. Because for me, having a buck here for a month is smelly enough anyway because it'll be rutting season, it'll be breeding season when you're doing that. So if I'm going to do that anyway, I might as well just have a buck of my own. So I'm not going to rent a buck. I'm either going to have my own buck or I'm going to send my ladies away to sleepaway camp when I get my ladies. I haven't fully settled on a breed, so I don't have them yet. But this is probably the option I'm going to go with, either that or buying my own boy. Now, this is the least amount of work for you. All you do, load your girls up, take them to the farm, and you leave them there for usually a month for them to all get pregnant. And you don't have to do the monitoring, you're not doing the feeding, you're not doing anything except waiting to go pick your girls up again. So this can be a viable option. I'm only considering doing it because we have a wonderful farm that offers this service literally 20 minutes from us. I don't think I would do it if I had to travel a long distance. I think that would just be too much to load a bunch of goats and take them that far and then go pick. I just not sure I want to do that. So I think I would only do it. I will only do it. I'm only considering it because we have somebody not far from us who offers this service. So it's an option for you to consider. It may not work out for you, but you really have to think about what you want for your farm. Bearing in mind that renting, the sleepaway camp thing, and AI are all based on timing, you do have to make sure your girls are in heat. They do tend to be pretty reliable ways if the person you're working with, so the person inseminating your goat or the person handling the buck, if the person is knowledgeable, it tends to go pretty well. If they're not knowledgeable, it doesn't. So make sure you know who you're trusting with your goats, because whether you're having a buck to come to you or you're sending your ladies away, you are putting a level of trust in someone. So just make sure that you do actually trust them. Anyway, those are your 4 basic options for how to get your girls pregnant. You have to pick what's right for your farm. We're considering either buying our own buck or doing the sleepaway camp. I don't think we're going to go anywhere in between. What works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. That is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.